What's happening, Hardscapers? Last year I had a project that I didn't sell path lighting on. I did a video about it. Path lights, as you can see, there's a light just underneath this. It's not plugged in or anything, but I did not sell my clients fully on path lights on one of the biggest jobs I've done this season. And now we're gonna be installing those, so let's get into this. So this is an existing system that we're building on. We've got the transformer already hooked up with lights going to steps along the side of the house with 19 3-inch hardscape lights shining up them, as well as 4 lights around this gas fire feature. We did this last year, so now I'm just coming back to install 7 path lights to illuminate the pathway going to the pond, as well as the pathway leading towards the fire pit area. And in that last video where I talked about adding path lighting to this project, essentially I have a supplier that sends out an email around Boxing Day where they're trying to clear out all of their existing stock of discontinued products or whatnot. And what I typically do with that email is I forward it on to existing clients or previous clients and say, hey, is there anything that you want out of here? We'll install it. We'll let you know the price to install, but this is a great deal. Usually things are upwards of 75% off. So there's really no better deal for them to add lighting or even outdoor audio systems to their existing system. I pick and choose which clients to send that to, of course. But with this client, I did try to initially talk them into path lighting when we initially installed this system, but they decided not to go ahead with it. And I just knew that after them having a winter of no lighting along that pathway, that they may want to go for it. And it turns out they did. We got these 7 lights. So now we're just building on this existing system. So essentially I'm pulling that conduit out of the ground and I'm fishing the wires for these 2 different zones that we're doing, one on each side of the pathway walkway. So there's 2 different wires and just enough space in this conduit to fish these wires through the conduit, and I can grab them with my needle nose pliers and pull them all the way through. I can then strip those wires and add them to the different zones in the transformer. Of course, there's 2 wires for each of the systems. So one wire goes into the common or the ground, and the other wire goes into one of the other taps for each of those. The transformer is a little bit of a mess right now, but we'll clean that up afterwards with those wires and we'll tuck them away nicely. So we choose the spacing of the lighting, alternating from side to side, as well as optimal spacing that this path lights actually provide with their beam spread, just making sure that we're making the best use of these 7 lights. So we decided to go 3 lights around the fire pit circle and then 4 lights from the start of the pathway through to where that arbor you see is there. And these path lights are incredibly easy to install. Essentially, you hammer a spike down into the ground, then you twist the light onto that spike, and you do a connection as you would with any lighting fixture, hardscape lights, up lights, path lights, where you're stripping those wires and you're connecting them to the run coming from that transformer, as well as the run going to the next light. We do have an outdoor lighting installation video on this channel. You'll definitely see it in one of our playlists, hardscape lighting installation. They're installed very much in the same way. When it comes to deciding how many lights to put around that fire pit area and how many lights to put through that walkway, ultimately, we were constrained with 7 lights, but it does work out quite perfectly with knowing the beam spread of what that's going to look like at night. So we decided to go 3 lights around the fire pit area. When it comes to designing lighting, odd numbers create interest and even numbers create symmetry. So around that fire pit, we want to reduce the amount of lights around there. 2 would be too few and 4 would be too many, and those are both even numbers, and I prefer odd numbers, especially around a fire pit feature that also already has lighting around the fire pit, along with the light that the fire pit actually gives off when it is running. So that leaves us with 4 lights, and we decided to go as many as possible near that initial entrance area into the walkway. and then one closer to that arbor, because the arbor also has lights around it as well, some string lights. So we didn't need as much lighting there, and that's just how we go about designing the path lighting in this space. Now, these lights have a 2 foot to 3 foot lead on them, so we can change the positioning of them slightly, even though they've already been hardwired. So we do have a little bit of play with them when it comes to this. We use Gator Base for this patio and walkway, and the good thing about Gator Base with this is that it extends 6 inches past that final paver. So essentially we can lightly lift up that base and tuck our wires underneath the Gator Base, and that Gator Base then protects the wires from any digging that might occur into it, or from any movement that those wires do experience. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they are all on. Lights are working. We just got to bury the connections. I'll come back and do that because I forgot my electrical tape. What I typically do is electrical tape this together so that if it pulls apart, if it tries to pull apart, it puts tension on the electrical tape and not the actual connectors here. But that's that. Really happy with the way my first pond turned out. Waterfall, some bubbler action, and the lighting adds a final touch to it. So now they've got the 4 lights around the fire pit. They've got the fire pit light at night, as well as 3 of these path lights around this fire pit. So this will be nicely illuminated for them, as well as a nice pathway of lights. So 4 lights there coming into this fire pit area. It'll be perfect, as well as there's going to be 3 color changing lights in the pond, so I have to come back and do that. Right now there are 3 lights in the pond. They're not color changing. I promised them color changing, so we're gonna come back and do that. Hey, I hope this video has helped you in some way. Please give it a like if it has. Comment below any questions that you have. Remember that we do have a video on outdoor lighting installation. You'll probably see it come up here, and you can click on it and see how we actually hardwired these lights. And you can learn more about that, as well as our own membership platform that you can learn how to install interlocking concrete pavement, retaining walls, outdoor lighting, gas fire features, and so much more. Link will be in the description there. And subscribe to this YouTube channel for more hardscaping content. Thank you so much for watching.